Welcome guys, we've had the Belgian Grand Prix sprint day and qualifying for the main race tomorrow, and while the sprint was a bit dull, but the qualifying was absolutely fantastic. Let's dive in. So guys, we'll start with the sprint race. What a race it was for Max Verstappen, and we were all thinking about that slipstream through Eau Rouge and down into turn 5 and who would make it pay. Oscar Piastri was the man being hunted, and when you're hunted by Max Verstappen, you best be careful. I actually thought Max might struggle down that because his exit out of turn 1 wasn't particularly great. There was enough of a gap where I thought Oscar might have had enough to hold on to that P1, but it was almost a perfect gap because there was no compromise really through Eau Rouge, a bit like Lando Norris was on Verstappen, because Norris was really close to Verstappen, but I think he had to just ease off a little bit of Verstappen, and then that left him in the clutches of Charles Leclerc, and we've seen that run up to the turn 5, and Max Verstappen, absolutely brilliant move around the outside. That was probably, he knew, one of his only opportunities, because had he not done that through that sector 2, the McLaren looked strong, and they could have pulled that gap where you're out of that DRS zone pretty quickly, but Max did an absolutely tremendous job, and from there on he was flawless. I mean, even through sector 2, Oscar Piastri couldn't get anywhere close enough out of turn 1, out of the slipstream, and he comfortably had a good 7 tenths behind, and it was just too much to wake up even with a DRS, because that super slippery setup on the Red Bull was absolutely perfect. They pulled it off to a T, just like they did in Silverstone for the qualifying. The benefit here is though that they can completely reverse this setup for qualifying in the main race, where the rain is due to come, and so that's why it was the perfect opportunity to do what they did, and Max pulled off. I think you've got to give him an awful lot of credit, because we've all been saying that Max has got the best car and this is why he's able to do, but this clearly is not the best car. He was best part of over half a second slower than the McLaren, so it's a massive gap, that, and to make that null and void in the race, he used, like he said, it was defensive strategy all the way through, using your battery power where you can to bridge that gap, and he only had that one small mistake into the exit, into the bus stop chicane, where that Norris Oscar got a bit of a run, and he managed to defend that really, really well. Had enough horses in his tank to, just keep Piastri behind, and that was the only threat he had really in that race. In behind Oscar, he had a little bit to worry about with Norris towards the end. I think Norris obviously got compromised, and Charles Leclerc got himself up into P3. Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari really, really struggled with the rear of that car, looked really slippery, as did his teammates Lewis Hamilton, and it was always going to be a tough job for Leclerc to hold back Norris. Norris got the move on Charles Leclerc on lap 4, and then honed into the two guys up at the front, but then just didn't have enough to get past Oscar Piastri. I mean, had Max Verstappen not been there, and Oscar didn't have the benefit of a DRS, I think Norris would have got close enough to Piastri and made that move. But I think you've got to look at that two-sided, because Oscar was damaging his tyres, being less than a second behind Verstappen pretty much throughout that full 15 laps, so he'd had rough tyres anyway, and that's probably why it looked closer and looked like Norris had the better car at that stage, because he could have managed his tyres better. Wasn't in dirty air as much or half as much as Oscar was through that sprint. So, but it was really good to see, because Norris looks like he's been slapped by anything business, hasn't he, after yesterday's qualifying, to just really pull it in. He was really on the pace of Oscar in the race, so that was really good to see, set that up for qualifying and potentially for the race as well. Other than that, we didn't really get much overtaking at all. We got Kimi Antonelli past Nico Hülkenberg, we got Lewis Hamilton past Nico Hülkenberg, and that was pretty much the race. Lewis Hamilton finally got past Alex Albon, and that was pretty much all the overtaking for that race. It was, again, a lot of DRS trains and what we kind of see in these sprint races, so it wasn't the best sprint at all. The learning for the big one for the race really was how good that medium tyre was. 15 laps, no real graining. They were able to push pretty hard on that for that full 15 laps, so I mean, that could potentially change things for the race. Could we see people go going to try that one stop, especially with a hard medium, that really does look on because the dead was really low despite this one step gap. The difference we might see is though just in the performance difference between the hard and the mediums, especially given the hard is one step harder than the medium in terms of that, so that might change things around, because if you are in the mediums and the guy in front is on the hards towards the end, you actually have got a really good durable tyre in that medium, and it's really quick. The issue being though is it's going to be a one stop. You're going to start on the mediums, and I think more likely than not you'll be on the hards at the end, but unless you've qualified out of position, you might try the hard at the beginning and then try and make something at the end on the mediums. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out in strategy. But for the result, Max Verstappen took the win, Oscar second, Lando Norris in third. Charles Leclerc came home in fourth, a comfortable, decent result from him. Ocon though was a brilliant P5 from him, held his own in that race, as did Carlos Sainz in a P6. Ollie Behrman in P7. Hadjar got up to P8 only because Pierre Gasly didn't make the start. Car issues. Real shame for him because I think he would have pulled off that P8. Gabi Bortoleto in P9. Great result from him. Liam Lawson in 10. Yuki Tsunoda got himself up into 11th. George Russell 12th. Lance Stroll 13th, Fernando Alonso 14th, Lewis Hamilton made up a couple of places, got himself up to P15, Albon into 16, Kimi Antonelli into 17th, Nick Hulkenberg dropped a few places, didn't he, from where he started into P18, Franco Colapinto on 19, and the only DNF there was Pierre Gasly, like he didn't make the start. He did get a couple of laps in, started 2 laps down, probably just use it more as a test to help him get some setup right for qualifying and the race, especially given they've only got one FP1 session, so it made absolutely sense for them to try and do that. And that's the sprint race. Really wasn't brilliant, but what a drive from Max Verstappen. Hats off to him. A fantastic job there. And let's jump straight into qualifying for the main race, because this was brilliant. We got into Q1. We'll start. It was a horrible session for the 2 Aston Martins. Lance Stroll lines up last. Fernando Alonso 19th. Kimi Antonelli doesn't seem to like Belgium at all. Another poor qualifying session out in Q1, P18. Franco Colapinto 17, and Lewis Hamilton in P16 got himself out of Q1, but then got his lap deleted. Out in P16. A horrible weekend for him here at Belgium. Just seemed to not get the car under him at all. The stars in that session of Q1 though was Isaac Hadjar in P4 and Ollie Behrman in P5. The leaders Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. Norris was back on it in this session. You could tell he was really buoyed and not too disappointed when he hit him after the sprint. Sort of looked really confident going into qualifying. Aston Martin last. They've had a shocker. I did predict they'd have a poor race here. I didn't think they'd be this bad though. That's a really, really bad qualifying. As is Lewis Hamilton down in P16. It's just a long way back. He's got to really just hope for crazy mixed conditions in the race and it all to fall into place for him to pick up some like half decent points in the end, because he's got some quick cars down the straight ahead of him into Q2. Carlos Sainz in P15. He'll be disappointed. He'd had better in sprint qualifying just to come together for him. In qualifying, Nico Hulkenberg, he was really disappointing. 14th place. He's been out qualified by Gabi Bortoleto again. His teammate seems to really like it around here. Pierre Gasly in 13th. Ollie Behrman in 12th. He made a mistake on his run off onto some gravel. Disappointing there. And Esteban Ocon in P11 because a Haas did look quick in the sprint, but it's not gone well for them in qualifying. They'll be hoping for much more in the race. Start of that session though really for me was Yuki Tsunoda up in P5. It was a great lap from him, just 0.3 off Max Verstappen. It's the closest we've seen him be in an absolute age, and finally gets up himself into Q3. So really positive from Yuki with a new team manager in that team, a man he's worked with before. Is that the change is needed? Let's find out. I mean, it's too early to tell. It's only one qualifying session. The race will be the big test for him. And we jumped to Q3 and it was so close up at the front, but Lando Norris, hats off to him. What a great job he's done to get pole position. I mean, he was 0.6 of a second slower than Oscar Piastri in sprint qualifying, and to turn that type of gap around and nick pole position was absolutely tremendous. But like we've seen with Oscar Piastri, is that the place you want to start here in Belgium when you've got that big long straight after turn 1 down into turn 5, and you're giving that slipstream and drag to the whole of the field, are you going to be a bit of a sitting duck? Well, time will tell. And is Oscar the man who lines up in second in the prime position now? Although he was really disappointed with his lap, he felt he had enough in it. A bit of mistake, he said, at turn 14 on his lap, but less than a tenth down on his teammates, so mega close between the two McLarens, and that's probably the lockout position that they both wanted. They didn't get that in sprint with Max Verstappen splitting the pair, but now we should really see the two McLarens battle it out up top. Interesting to see what the weather does on that front with the pair of them. A brilliant lap from Charles Leclerc, absolutely maximised everything and got third place. For all the world, it looked like it'd be Max Verstappen in that position, but Charles, a fantastic job from him to pull off that in that Ferrari. Still 3 tenths down, but much closer than we've seen, not the 7 tenths we've seen in sprint, but much happier, but still a bit lost of where this performance is and where it's going to come from. But can he hold on for there? He doesn't look like it'll be promising, but with mixed conditions, who knows in that Ferrari. Max Verstappen in 4th place. He looked like he'd be definitely on for at least a 3rd position and potentially a front row grid, but he made a bit of a mistake, or he just got a lot of wheel spin on his final run out of turn 1, and he was nearly 2 tenths down in sector 1, and from there on, that was probably one of his strongest sectors we've seen through pretty much all of this weekend, and when he's lost that sort of time, it's hard to make that up. Ultimately he didn't, and lines up 4th. Nobody's ever won from 4th in Belgium. We kept hearing them bang on about Max Verstappen though. I wouldn't write him out with mixed conditions. He could definitely put that right. And then we've got one of the stars of this session. I thought Williams might do well, but I didn't think they'd do this well. Alex Albon in P5. If you look at his middle sector, was absolutely phenomenal. It was on par with the top guys up at the front. A great sector 1 and sector 2 really got him into that position. A fantastic job from him. He'll be hoping to hold on for some good points from there. George Russell in P6. Probably the best he could have hoped for. The best of the rest, Mercedes aren't really there at the moment. Yuki Tsunoda, fantastic to see him up there in P7. He'll be hoping to hold on to that position at the absolute minimum, or take the fight to George Russell in the race, but a really good, just 0.4 of Max Verstappen. Like I said, it's the closest he's been, and it's a really long lap, this one in Belgium, to be that much closer to him. Really good confidence booster for him. Isaac Hadjar, again, this guy's tremendous. 8th place. We see him here so often. He's been a phenomenal job. Great job from the rookie. Beats his teammate Liam Lawson, who lines up in 9th place. Strong performance from the Racing Bulls in qualifying. And Gabby Bortoleto, a tremendous job in P10. He'll be disappointed his Q3 was a little bit scruffy though. You're probably thinking he might have been able to nick a place from one of the Racing Bulls. His first lap was deleted for track limits, and then his second lap looked like he made a mistake because he's like 1.8 down off the leader, about 4-5 cents down off P9, and I don't think he was that much slower than the guys up ahead of him. And the grid is set, well, fantastically well. We've got the two McLarens. Again, the race should be brilliant. We've got mixed conditions for the race predicted. Let's see how that pans out. Lando Norris has said he's hoping for just dry conditions. A straightforward race for him would be all he wants. Or does he want that? I mean, a wet start, something behind the safety car, a rolling start. We see these sort of crazy decisions pop up in Belgium when it's raining. It might be perfect for him because it gets that threat down into off the start down into that turn 5 off of him. So it might be, wishing something different. Can Charles Leclerc hold back Max Verstappen? How much further or closer can Verstappen get to them two McLarens? It's a bit of a hard one for him to, he won't be able to jump ahead of them and defend well from there, I don't think, unless it's a particularly bad start from the two McLarens. I mean, could we see incident between the two McLaren boys up in there and we get a surprise winner in Verstappen from 4th? No, I wouldn't bet that against him, or even Charles Leclerc. Alex Albon, P5, can he hold on for some brilliant points. Lewis Hamilton, what can he do, back from P16. Kimi Antonelli also P18, a horrible one from him. Can the two Hasses pick up some points? Yeah, interesting. Yuki Tsunoda, can he have one of his better races and find himself on the podium if the two McLarens take themselves out? Who knows? A lot of questions to be answered in the race. I cannot wait for the action to get going. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. As always, see you on the next one.